Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse Syndicate pregame show with Quis of Vibes TV. How you doing, brother?
I'm not doing too well after the news, man.
Oh yeah, the news didn't put a big bright smile on your face?
No, it did not. But live streaming with you and the chat is definitely going to be a pick me up.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured it'd be a great topic for us to talk about. I want to hear from the chat, any questions or whatever. Get like a nice back and forth dialogue. But first, I put out a video earlier today, detailing the whole the article that came out and most of my feelings about it. I didn't get to everything. There's always a lot to talk about with that, but we'll get into it. Yeah, we'll get into it. That's what the live stream's for. Exactly. Exactly, man. Before we start, as you may have noticed, we have a sponsor. It's BUSR. It's a sports book. And if you have not checked them out, you definitely should. As you saw the little commercial that started right before we started going live. They have a promo right now. It's bet $1 to win $10,000 plus a 100% sign-up bonus. And you get 25 casino chips with every deposit. So it's a pretty good deal. It's a really good deal, actually. And it's pretty simple. You just sign up or you log into your account. If you already have an account, it's good for existing clients too. Make a deposit using the promotion on the site. Place $1 bet or more in any of the games, and you're participating to win. And the registration already opened for this contest, the 10K contest. The winner will be announced on the 26th of March, the day of the Elite Eight. So it coincides with March Madness. It's all about the March Madness. Go out there, bet on your favorite teams or who you think is going to be the sleeper, who you're going to make the most money on. Go for it. It's a great site. The link, please use the link that's in the top corner up there. Go to, and it's in the description as well. That'd be great if you could support them and support the channel. It'd be awesome. All right, well, let's begin. Welcome to the chat. Sincere to Genius, UPG. Thank you guys for joining us. Phantom 2601. Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. We got to stay. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Thibs is here to stay. Well, Quis, let's just get to it, man. Let's get to the pain. I mean, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're both going to do. We're going to give our takes, our feelings about this, but I also want us to spend some time on the other side of the argument, making the case for why it might be a smart move to keep Thibs on for next season.
So you want us to be hypocrites? I'm messing with you. I
don't want to condone it. I don't want to say that we feel. I'm just saying this is possibly what might work. If it works, this is how it could look. What's the rationale behind holding on to him? That's a better way to put it. What we think might be the rationale for that. But first, before that, because I already dropped a 20-minute video discussing this today, and you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. I go in depth on all of this, but today it's going to be great to have the back and forth with the chat. But first of all, I'm going to throw it to you, Quis. Today, this report came out. Sources say, according to Jake Fischer, New York Knicks expected to keep Tom Thibodeau beyond this season. Quis, what's your feelings about this?
You guys actually alerted me to it, and I was upset. I've been an advocate of moving on from Thibs. I felt like he's not the right guy to help get the most out of these younger players. I wanted it actually done, before the end of the season. That way we can have someone in that can, give those guys the minutes. But, fortunately, Thibs' hands have been forced. So now he's having to play some of those guys and give those minutes. And we're starting to see them contribute. And we're starting to see that they could have contributed to this team, much sooner. So that right there should have been an indictment against Thibs. And the fact that you were able to see that, you've seen how this team has been inept in fourth quarters, hasn't been able to find ways to win games and secure games in which we've had pretty large leads. I think a lot of that stems from coaching. So for this article to come out and say that the Knicks, that James Dolan was open to it, and now it's on Leon Rose who decides whether or not he stays, and he decided to keep him. I mean, I guess that's something you're going to have to live with when you bring in a guy whose resume is pretty much relationships, building those relationships with other agents, with other GMs. And he has a relationship with Tom Thibodeau, so he has to try and keep that relationship. And I think he's doing that by extending him, and not extending him, but allowing him to have another year on the job to try and right the ship. And to me, now my target is going to be right on the front office, because I forgot which pregame it was, but I had mentioned, I would be, on my list of importance, it was getting the point guard over firing Thibs, because to be fair, Thibs hasn't had that point guard to really run his whatever offense he's trying to run out there, because we're all confused. We really don't know what he's trying to get done with this team. So he didn't have a point guard. The best player on the team, Julius Randle, hasn't been able to play with a point guard. So now it's on the front office this offseason to get Thibs the pieces he needs if he's going to be the guy running the show next season. And that's not the route I would have preferred. I would have preferred someone to come in the article. They're saying that there's really no one available. I doubt that. We all know Kenny Atkinson. He's a former coach. I'm pretty sure if you asked him, he's someone that would have been open to pursuing open coaching spots. I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the list of some vacancies when it comes to interviews. So for them to say that there's no one really available out there, to me, I think that was something that was kind of to ease some of the scrutiny towards Leon Rose. And I just think that Thibs is not the guy for this group of players. And I think the game might have passed him by. And if we're going to move forward with Thibs as the coach, then this front office is going to have to do something in order to either force his hand once again to play the younger guys, or at least give him some of the pieces so we're not stuck in limbo.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. You pretty much summed it all up right there. Now, why do you think? I mean, we'll have to get into the offseason, because what happened? Because it's obvious that the pieces that Leon and the front office signed for him, not necessarily the draft picks, but the ones they signed over the summer, weren't really the right pieces for a Thibs scheme.
They didn't sign pieces for him. They signed pieces and gave it to him.
Right.
And said, figure it out.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Though we've heard conflicting reports, we've heard that Thibs didn't want Fournier, and then I actually heard a report that he was in favor of Fournier. Kemba, I think it happened so fast, and he embraced it really quickly, Thibs. So it's hard to know if he was actually really on board with that. And I'm sure everything he said about him respecting Kemba, respecting his career, everything he's done, I'm sure that's actually genuine. But whether he actually wanted him to be his starting point guard on this team going into the season or not, I've never been quite sure about that in terms of, but it seems like he wouldn't be, because based upon his lack of defensive prowess, that he wouldn't want a point guard like that.
Well, George, you said it a few times. You've mentioned that how Kemba was like a last minute add-on. And at that point, we didn't have a starting point guard, and there weren't any other options. So if Thibs is given a low risk, high reward player at point guard, I don't think he'd oppose. He's going to say, hey, it wouldn't hurt. And apparently it hurt a lot more than we had anticipated.
Yeah, it hurt. And also given the fact that I think even a healthy Kemba might not necessarily have been the answer for a Thibodeau scheme. Because especially combined with Fournier. Two weak perimeter defenders. We're not talking about weak. We're talking about, Fournier we've discussed, and we've actually seen it. Yes, he at times He is the traffic cone out there. It looks like he's playing in Timberlands. But there's other times where he does a decent job. He does a decent job. He disrupts a guy's shot. He sticks with him. He gets some nice steals here and there. So he's when he's shooting the way he's been shooting, and it turned out he's had a pretty good career, a pretty good year from the 3-point line. Now he's, I believe, in the top 10 in 3-point efficiency in the entire league, above Duncan Robinson, who with I think even more attempts, who the Knicks were considering signing over the summer. And we got him for less than Duncan Robinson. About the same. I think a little bit less. But he's shooting better than him. So at least we got something comparable to what they had been seeking in the summer. It's not like Duncan Robinson's a big defender either.
Mm-hmm.
But the Kemba thing, the whole point guard thing was screwed up when they didn't go after, when they didn't make a serious play for Lonzo Ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was it right there.
Yeah.
That was the move they should have tried to make. Unfortunately, the Chicago Bulls were tampering, and it only cost them a 2nd-round pick. So, and we don't even play most of ours, so I'm not sure why we couldn't have got on the phone.
Yeah, I know. Why couldn't we have gotten in there? Especially, isn't that the whole point of bringing in someone like a Leon Rose, former super agent,
and Worldwide West, those back channels?
Both of those, yeah. I mean, also we missed out on Malik Monk. Let's not forget that either. He was a former Kentucky guy, not a point guard, but an electric shooter from the outside who was a lot cheaper than Fournier. A lot cheaper. I'd rather have Monk at his price than Fournier. Now with the money that we gave Fournier, we're kind of stuck there. But that aside, let's talk about, before we get into why this might actually work out. Let's talk about what to you were like the biggest issues, the mistakes, and you've already kind of touched upon them, but we can go into a little deeper, that Thibs made this season that actually that makes you think, you know what, he shouldn't remain as coach of the Knicks. What are some of the examples that you can give us?
Well, I mean, we talked about them on numerous pre-games. It's starting Burks at point guard, playing him out of position, basically playing him outside of his capabilities and devaluing him to the point that we couldn't move on from him and, at the trade deadline. Then you also have Deuce, who's an actual point guard. It took us, screaming for him to get play, for Thibs to actually get him in there. And we're seeing that him and an IQ combo actually is one of the, better bench backcourts in the league. So you have that there. You have the fact that he's had the over-reliance on players like a Taj Gibson, even a player like Nerlens Noel, who maybe Nerlens Noel could have played more minutes and been able to contribute to us actually winning ball games if he wasn't thrown into a situation coming back from injury. Maybe if he was given the opportunity like he's been given now to kind of recuperate, maybe he could have come back at some point of the season and been a contributing factor to us making a playoff push or something of that nature. But he didn't want to go to Sims. He didn't want to get him involved, and he had an over-reliance on Taj. And I think that's something you have to hold against him. You look at Cam, he's injured now, but when Cam was here, Cam should have gotten minutes right away. I think this team was struggling. We've been struggling for the majority of the season, and it was a perfect opportunity to get a lengthy defender like Cam out there that can create off the dribble, that can knock down the three, even though he hasn't shot it great since he's arrived, but he hasn't been given an opportunity to get into any kind of rhythm. And I think if you watch the games Cam played, he started to look better once he was given more time to actually find a rhythm out there and get acclimated with his teammates on the court. So you can hold that against him. So just his rotations in general have just been something that I feel like it hasn't put this team in a position to win. And then another major factor is the fact that he hasn't been able to I won't say contain, but just find a way to get arguably the best player on the team into a right spot on the court, and that's Julius Randle. He hasn't been able to stop him from having some of these outbursts on the court. He hasn't, once in a while you can understand it, but this has been something that's been trending throughout the season. And if that's the best player on the team, and it doesn't seem like we're going to trade him, and you're going to keep the coach in Tom Thibodeau, who has been enabling such behavior, that's, to me, is going to be a recipe for disaster going down the line. So I would have liked a new voice in the locker room that could kind of maybe get to a Julius Randle. And we've seen Julius Randle when he's playing, the same level he was playing last season. This team looks much better. Julius Randle shows that he can contribute somewhat to winning. So maybe if we had a coach that can come in, let him know, hey, we don't need you to be this point forward within the offense. We just need you to get to your spot, score from your spots, and make the right decision when the defense collapses. Maybe if we had a coach that could do that and get him into the right headspace, I think that would have been already a major plus heading into next season. So those few things have really soured my view on Tom Thibodeau's coaching tenure, because the rotations are something I've had an issue with even when he was winning
last season.
But now we're starting to see some of these other things creep up, and it's like, okay, we're adding more negatives to his coaching tenure, and we're trending in the wrong direction. So me, those are some of the things that I really had issue with Thibs.
Well, that's a big long list.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was coach of the year. It's going to take a lot for me to say it's time for us to move on, because you build a lot of equity, I believe, when you go out there and you win coach of the year. So to see some of the things we're seeing now, where the team is undisciplined, it doesn't look like the team knows what they're doing in the closing minutes of the game. People can, I said earlier, Thibs hasn't had a point guard, but you guys don't know where you're supposed to be defending at the end of a game in a clutch moment. That has nothing to do with a point guard. To me, that's coaching. You have to get into, and it's your best player that's out there acting like he doesn't know where he's supposed to be. To me, that's a major demerit against a coach like Thibs. Also, the defense. We mentioned Kemba.
The defense.
It comes and goes.
Dude,
some days it's on point, and some days it's just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And he's supposed to be a defensive coach. So if we're supposed to keep him, and he's a defensive-minded coach, and he can't get the best player to even buy in defensively. I've been saying it time and time again, Julius Randle has been not my man, not my problem when it comes to him helping off ball. And then you add that to the fact that Fournier is consistently being driven past. You have Kemba, who was poor defensively when he was playing. He was getting dribbled past. So that's two poor defenders, as Julius Randle not really doing much to help out. And then you have Mitch, the only rim protector on the court. And that, to me, has, just points fingers at Tom Thibodeau. Yes, I mentioned, once again, he doesn't have a point guard, but there's things outside of initiating the offense where you can point at Thibs and say, all right, you are an issue here.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with everything you said. Just to kind of work backwards, just touch on the point guard dilemma. Last year, Elfrid Payton was the worst starting point guard in the NBA, and we finished 4th seed in the East. So to use that excuse of not having a point guard for this team underperforming this season feels hollow to me, based upon what happened last season. If you can win with a trash point guard like Payton, who gives you, some good defense, but that's it.
Well, he doesn't give you anything this season because he's on the bench for Phoenix.
Exactly. So that just shows you he goes to a winning team. Guy can't even get dusted off and see some few minutes, not even like 6, 7, 8 minutes a game. He was for a little stretch, but now he's and the starting point guard is gone from that team. CP3, Chris Paul is on the disabled list, and still Elfrid Payton can't start. So to use the, Thibs doesn't have a point guard excuse to that's out. And also, number 2 on that, he does. His name is Miles Deuce McBride, and Emmanuel Quickley was being groomed to become the point guard for the second unit. So there's 2 point guards right there that have already proven that they impact winning when they are on the floor, and this guy took forever to finally embrace that. Only now, until we've been decimated, until finally the fans were screaming to play the young guys. Now is when he's finally succumbed to that. And it brings me to the point down below in the chat, in the caption here, the comment. Menno Afami, thank you for the comment. If only Thibs tried staggering Kemba and Fournier's minutes instead of always starting them together. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's called coaching. Put your players in the best position so they can perform their best, and then that will equal wins. Nothing. 10 games in a row, he trotted them out. They shit the bed. Then they trotted them out another 10 games. They still shit the bed. They got worse.
That's called insanity.
Exactly. And then he comes out, Thibs, and has the audacity to make this statement on people want, 20, 30, 40 games to respond. He called it, and then he went against it after the 40 games. He still brought out Kemba. And then he made it worse by removing Kemba completely from the team, from the rotation at the 20-game mark, and he installed at point a man who had never played point guard in his professional career. I don't even know if he'd ever played point guard in his life. Alec Burks. Which then in turn exposed Alec Burks. He was worried about things that are not in his wheelhouse, and what made him special got diluted. And he stopped being the assassin. He stopped being that, three-point shooter, who hits when we're desperate for a bucket. He stopped being that guy. His efficiency numbers, totally went downhill. And so did his trade value. So then when the trade deadline came around, we could not move off of Alec Burks' contract without having to attach Cam Reddish to the package. So I call BS on that. That's on Thibs. Yes. Did the front office screw up this summer? Yes. However, when the season begins and when you're coaching and you have tools in your toolbox, if you keep ignoring the tools and just keep going to the old ones that you kept using all along, and you're thinking, eventually, that bolt is going to turn when I use this Phillips head. No, it's not. You need a wrench. It's just, that part is just mind-boggling. So this thing is, he's totally right. Stagger the minutes, but it takes creativity to do stuff like that, which we've seen. Thibs
is nothing but stubborn. Exactly. Said Kimba wasn't a starter. Wasn't a bench player, so he didn't have him come off the bench. Makes no sense to me. If you feel like he's not good enough to start for your team, then by default that would make him a bench player. No,
yeah,
that was ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
Absolutely. And then when we had D Rose, why didn't you start him? Why not just start Derrick Rose? For all we know, this thing could have gone completely differently if we had started him. Maybe him coming in off the bench after sitting on the bench for a while, whatever. Maybe, get him come in when he's still warm, he loosened up, play with the better players so he doesn't have to carry the load as much like he does with that second unit, have to create so much for that second unit the way he has. Instead, he's with the first unit, with RJ, with Julius, and those guys can create a little bit for themselves and for others. Well, actually, I believe RJ can create a lot more than he has been. But you know what I mean? Like the load would have been less on Derrick Rose, and the team would have been more effective. Who knows? Fournier might have gotten off to a better start from the beginning of the season. Actually, he was blazing.
He started off great.
Blazing. Drop. Yeah. But after that 6th or 7th game, he started going down because he was being exposed.
The team that pretty much signals when everything started to go downhill for this team as a whole.
Yeah. The other thing is, we're still talking about this topic. Just wanted to stop looking at Thibs' face. Now, look, you guys, I'm a Thibs fan. I'm bummed. I'm bummed that he's turned into this, that he reverted back to what he was. I put out a whole video last year about how he's, he's rejuvenated himself. He's tried to grow off of his past mistakes, but they all came back to
that was
roost.
all coach talk.
Yeah, it's all BS. And that's why I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed by having put my faith in him. And this coach of the year thing, look, I live out here in LA, Hollywood. There's one saying, what have you done for me lately, baby? You can win the Oscar last year. If you put out a dud this summer, your fee gets cut. Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, you can go from being a leading star, A-list star, to just a guy looking for a TV series, really fast in this town.
Because we've seen precedent of coaches winning Coach of the Year and then getting canned after. So it's not like it's brand new.
And just last year, we saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
happened
in Atlanta. The before they brought in Nate McMillan. Yeah. Well, he wasn't Coach of the Year, but
he was a good coach. It happened to what's his name from Detroit?
Casey.
There we go. Dwayne Casey. Yeah. He got canned from Toronto, and then Nick Nurse came in and won a chip.
Right. Look at that. That's the greatest example right there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, let's talk about the Julius Randle Thibodeau situation. Do you feel that if Julius had performed, because I said this in the video that I put out earlier, if you feel that Thibodeau had performed similarly, Randle had performed similarly to what he did last season, maybe not exactly, but at least within striking distance. If he had been able to do that, do you feel that this team would be in the playoff picture right now?
Trying to think some of the Julius Randle stinkers and how poor the Knicks did in those games. I think we'd definitely be in a better position if Julius Randle would have been playing better. But I don't know if we solve some of the struggles we've had in those games where we couldn't really put it together in late minutes to pull out a victory. Then I don't know if Julius Randle is averaging the same numbers of last season, if we're still going to be able to find some kind of offense to pull those out. Because we did have times where we struggled offensively last season and Julius Randle put up those numbers. So, I'm sure we would still have some issues, but maybe those games where we had 20-plus point leads, we don't give those up. And if we don't give those up, we're definitely in a better position right now to get into the play-in, even though I'm not all gung-ho about us trying to fight tooth and nail just to get into a play-in spot. Honestly, I was aiming for 6 or better.
Well, 6 would be playing. Playoff. Yeah. I wanted to play. Yeah.
Did you say playoff or play-in? I thought you said play-in.
I meant playoff, not play-in.
All right.
Do you think we would have been in the playoff picture if it weren't for playoff
picture includes the play-in because they're in the playoff picture
Yeah, but let's say we finish 6 or above. That's what
I can't guarantee 6 or above, but I think we would have definitely been in the play-in picture. Because think about it, we had those 3 games where we lost and we were up 20 some odd points. If Julius Randle was playing as good as he was last season, I don't think we're giving up those big leads. So that's probably 3 wins right there. Then you've got other games where games were tight, and maybe if Julius Randle hit another bucket or 2, we might have been able to pull out a win here and there. So with Randle playing like he did last season, I do think we'd be at least in a play-in picture. Well, it wouldn't be much of a pretty picture than we have right now, but
yeah, I think we would have I think we'd be in like around 6th, 5th or 6th. I think we would be there if Randle had played to the level of last season. We're talking about also, it's not so much the actual numbers, the actual raw numbers of points per game, which they are below last season. But
it's the efficiency.
It's the efficiency. The 3-point shot is gone. A power forward in this game without a 3-point shot that cannot dominate in another area, like a Giannis, is almost useless in today's game.
Sound like you're talking about Obi, bro.
Yeah, that's why Obi's trying to learn his 3-point shot. That's why you have to.
You got to.
Unless you are like a force of nature, complete and utterly dominating within the arc, where you can get a bucket no matter what, like Giannis, then you're useless if you don't have a three-point shot. You need to have that to balance it, to create space for yourself, to create gravity, to draw defenders to you so you can find the open guy or get fouled, whatever it is. So Julius last year compared to Julius this year, it's like night and day because the three-point shot completely disappeared.
But I mean, I think this season Julius can still go out there and dominate and get a bucket. The problem is, dominate one-on-one. I mean, one-on-one, I think he can still go out there. The problem is when they throw the double, and then that's when he starts having to make the right reads and make the right decisions. And that's where everything, kind of goes off the rails. So yes, I think the efficiency is a big issue. But, like you said, if he's able to dominate, get into the paint, I think he'd still have some of the solid numbers. It's the decision-making, it's the turnovers, and it's the turnovers in key spots that have really hurt us this season.
They turnover. And we had that turnover situation last season as well with him. The only difference is he mixed those in with those incredibly difficult, turnaround fadeaway jumpers from the right baseline. Yep. He was hitting those beautiful 17-footers from the elbows. But we're not even seeing that efficiency this year at all.
I might have fallen in love with it a little bit too much.
Yep. Absolutely. Right. And also, I mean, I think for like a 25-game stretch, he averaged 14 and a half points a game this season.
Putrid, yeah.
I mean, how many games under double digits did he have this year? Like at least
quite a few.
Quite a few. So that's not your leader. So, and then you couple that with Thibodeau enabling Julius, by not holding him truly accountable. Speaking about Julius, but actually talking about a different player, while actually intending that to be taken, he's actually been misdirecting, communicating his displeasure about certain things, but using other players or like the general player, as opposed to calling Julius out specifically, which I guess is fine. It's not it's a smart move to do because you don't want to call humiliate your best player out in the press, but there's no indication that even behind the scenes that's happening.
Yeah, it's gotten worse and worse throughout the season.
Yeah, a lot worse. I mean, especially this year, man. Especially the thumbs down, all the other garbage.
It's just snowballed.
Yeah, and that's falls on Thibs. He's the head coach. He has to be the one to control that. Best of Worst commented, "We are in a win-win scenario right now. We win games, our young stars get experience. We lose games, we get a lottery pick." That's true. We are in that win-win situation. Unfortunately, we lost. Three of our young guys didn't play through a big stretch there, all at the same time. We waited too long to see Cam. That's another thing. Once I saw him, we need patience. Oh, blah 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 blah. Dude,
you hear what he said about Miles recently?
Yeah, he's got to earn it. That kind of mentality is it's not going to help develop the youth, the players. And now Cam got hurt. He's gone. So we lost out in the rest of the season to find out what he has.
Yep. And now we still have to make a decision on him long term with even less of an opportunity to really gauge how he fits here with the club. And then what I'm nervous about is the fact that this team or this front office, in an attempt now to get Thibs the pieces he needs, goes and moves on from a player like a Cam Reddish without him really having the opportunity
to
saw prove himself here in New York.
The rumor during the trade deadline.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that.
So it's very true that we could have seen the last of Cam Reddish in a Knicks jersey, and to me, I think that would be extremely unfortunate, especially without us having the training camp to have him in house with the team and giving him a legitimate shot to be a starter on this squad.
Yeah, So we don't know. That's up in the air now because now it seems like this is what it feels like. This article was floated out today with about 13 games to go. With exactly 13 games to go, including tonight. The team is, if this article is credible, and I mean it says league-wide sources and all that stuff, and in the video that I put out earlier dissecting this article, I talked about my skepticism about that, especially since very few actual leaks have turned out to be accurate with the Knicks. There's a long list.
We've heard a few that have been accurate. Derrick Rose got leaked. Cam got leaked.
A few. Yeah. Well, the Cam one.
Well, we haven't done much.
Yeah, Cam one was I think the Cam one was fans asking for Cam.
Yeah.
For the longest
time.
Wouldn't
be shocked. But they said, oh, let's go on YouTube, Twitter, and see what the fans are thinking.
Well, they hear it. Maybe they hear it.
Cam could be available.
Stirrings. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, all companies, what they do is they have like these social media scopes, and they see what's trending, what are the active topics, what are people talking about, and they'll see Cam Reddish keeps popping up in terms of Knicks and stuff. I mean, I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying that I know that for sure, but I'm saying this is how companies know how to keep their finger on the pulse of what their customers are interested in or what their moods are.
And yet the Knicks got all that, and they probably still missed the mark.
Yeah.
We're keeping Thibs.
Right.
But maybe that's why they made the announcement, quote unquote. And that's a leak. That's a leak, George. So there have been leaks.
There have been leaks. If it is
that, like they're Fort Knox.
Yeah. If it is that, though, that's the thing. So we don't know. We don't know for sure. But let's say it is. Let's say this is all a credible article, and behind it all is someone attached with the Knicks who wants this to be floated out. What reasons would be behind justifying this move? Why do we believe? Why should we believe that holding on to Coach Thibodeau for next season is the right move for this team? Let's play devil's advocate.
Well, if Thibs was against a lot of the moves that the Knicks made, then I would understand why they'd want to give him another shot at the job. If he didn't want Fournier, if he didn't want Kemba, I mean, we know he wanted Deuce and Grimes, and at least we can give him credit for that. We've heard those rumblings through the news. But if he didn't want any of the free agents that the front office brought in, then I think that would be a reason to at least justify somewhat, with the move of keeping Tom Thibodeau. But I mean, outside of that, maybe we have seen some steps or some growth in RJ, and I guess Thibs has. I won't say he's been an enabler like he has been with Randall. He's held RJ accountable at times. You've seen moments where RJ has sat in the fourth quarter, and I think in games RJ has responded. You see Thibs, he had the press conference where he said RJ hasn't been in the gym putting up shots, and then when RJ was able to come back, he had a better form. He was knocking down his shots a little bit more. So I guess if you want to look at something and point to Thibs and say maybe Thibs did play a part in it, then you could say, all right, RJ's growth and development. And some people might argue and say that's because of Johnny Bryant working with RJ, maybe. But in the article it says they don't feel like Johnny Bryant has shown enough to be elevated to a head coach. So I guess that would make me think that maybe they're attributing a little bit more of the success to how Coach Thibs has been handling and working with RJ. So if I had to dive deep and find a reason to keep Thibodeau, it'd be RJ and Mitch too. Yeah. Mitch has taken some strides as well. There was a little friction to start. Last year I used to make videos talking about Mitch being frustrated. We still see Mitch being frustrated, but Thibs, held Mitch accountable a lot of the times for his entire tenure here. And we've seen Mitch respond. Mitch has definitely gotten better since Thibs has arrived. Unfortunately, some of that time has been, marred with injury. But when Mitch is out there, which has been the majority of the season, he's looked, solid.
All right,
I didn't sound too confident there, did I?
No. I mean, it was a little shaky. Gotta say.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I'm like,
Hey, but you know what? You gave it a go. I'm going to give it a go as well. But before I actually dive into,
good luck to you on that one.
Yeah, to take the pro Thibodeau stance. And remember, I am actually a pro Thibodeau guy. What I have seen with this roster, the moves that he's made, the terrible play calling in the fourth quarter, out of timeouts, where I'm talking about actual floor execution. What I've seen this year, losing multiple double-digit leads, 20+ leads within a 7-game span. All of those things are on the coach. The coach is the one with this, hand on the steering wheel. He's the one who can pull the bus aside and get them together, figure out a new way to attack the situation, how to slow the other team down. Anyway, we're digressing. But I will say this. Right now, the New York Knicks are the 4th worst team in the Eastern Conference. Last season, they were the 4th best team in the Eastern Conference. That is an indictment on the coach. If last season was attributed to the coach, then this season it's an indictment of the coach as well. You can't have it both ways. You can't. So there, I will put that out there before I dive into now making the argument for why it might be a smart move.
You have to make sure everybody understood. You're just playing devil's advocate here.
I'm playing devil's advocate. Here's some of the positive things. It provides stability. And there is a lot to be said for that. There is a lot to be said for giving the players that we have currently on the roster, the ones that we're going to keep, like RJ, and unfortunately Randall. Fournier is here to stay. He's not, I imagine, maybe he'll get traded in the summer. I don't know. His value has gone up because he is performing very well offensively. We saw IQ's, IQ is actually, he flourished under Thibs. IQ did. We saw Thibs working with him in the summer league after every game in summer league. He was talking to him on the side, right on the court. We saw that. We talked about that. We commented that. He brought along Quentin Grimes, and I would say he brought him along at a pretty decent pace compared to what we expect from Thibs. Considering he was a 25th pick, first rounder, he had him entrenched in a rotation pretty about a third of the way into the season. Right? Was that right?
Yeah, that doesn't deviate much from what he did with Quick.
Right.
Same thing.
It is similar. It's similar. Right. So, but that's, it's putting time into the young players. So, but giving the franchise some stability, and then you can say, hey, you know what? Look, what's closer to the reality? Is last season closer to the reality? Is this season closer to the reality? Or is it somewhere in between? Would we take somewhere in between for the 2022-23 season? I'm talking about the front office thinking. And that somewhere in between would be, so 4th seed, 14th seed would be the 8th seed. Do they think bringing Thibs back for one more year, giving that stability, could he get us back into the playoffs, legitimately in the playoffs in a much stronger Eastern Conference? I don't know. That could be something that they're thinking about.
So you're saying the front office signed up for a year of mediocrity?
Yes. Because
God bless them.
Yes.
God bless us as Knicks fans.
And here's the other reason. Here's what I think might be the other reason. They may have found out through back channels or direct channels that moving on from Julius Randle might cost them. And in essence, that will be a step back for the franchise. To have to attach assets to get rid of Randle, Obi hasn't proven himself to be like I thought he would by now, and he hasn't. Though, depending on how you look at the numbers, I have faith that he can be a productive starting power forward in the NBA. Will he be one of the best ones? No. But I mean, at this point, it's hard to say that he will be. It's really hard to say. But can he be a competent one? Yeah, I think he can. Could he replace Randall? Yeah. But it will still be a step back for the franchise to trade their biggest free agents. I mean, their biggest re-signing, which was Julius contract extension. Second team All NBA guy, and to move on from him, you have to attach some draft picks and some nice assets. That's a step back for the franchise. So they realize, you know what? Right now, his value is so low. We'll be selling low on him. We have to hold on to him. And we know that Julius likes to play for Thibodeau. So this unholy marriage of these two has actually trapped the franchise into
George. You might want to rest your defense case, bro.
I mean, it seems like that's like.
Oh, man.
I mean, what other? I mean, they can't get rid of Randall, so and if they get
to me, the sane decision would be to bring in someone else that can get Randall back in line. If Thibs is showing that he doesn't have the ability to get his best player to kind of fall in line with the rest of the team,
yeah, but that would mean he can say, look at last year though. Look at he got a second team, and then look at Randall responding now.
You can't base things off of the perfect season, and last year was pretty much the perfect storm for the Knicks. You can't look at it and say, all right, he performed well under the best environment an environment that he'll never see again, where he'll have empty arenas and things like that. So you can't base that off of the performance last season. You have to base it off of when things have hit the fan and things have gotten rocky. What has he done?
I'm with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to use some kind of logic to apply to why this decision is even being made.
The only thing is continuity. If you want to say continuity, cool.
Do you think if Randall had not made this like recent 10-game kind of turnaround?
The turnaround?
The 10-game turnaround. He's averaging 26 points a game in the past since the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break, he's averaging 26 points a game. Both him and RJ averaging 26 points a game since the All-Star break. If Randall hadn't made that little turnaround, do you think this gets leaked right now?
If Randall doesn't start playing better, do we still keep Thibs, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, there really is no reason to keep Thibs because, with the continuity argument, you could still probably make the continuity argument when you look at RJ.
Maybe, but you can't make
because your focus.
He brings the best out of our best player argument.
You would hope next season Julius Randle is not our best player. Fingers crossed.
Let's hope. But we have seen zero indication that this franchise is able to bring in another player.
Well, we don't have to bring in another player. RJ is already on the roster. Let him blossom and be the best player on the team. And then you don't even have to ask that question. Julius Randle is now the second best player, and you don't have to, walk on glass or walk on eggshells around him. You can then try and figure out a way, either once again fall in line, bring in a new coach to have him do that, or you decide to move on from him.
It's tricky. That's tricky because in my opinion, RJ is the better player. He's the better all-around player, and he's proving it to be. He's stepping up, but he still has a ways to go. He still has to finish this season out the way he's been playing, begin next season the same, picking up where he left off, and get into the all-star argument. And then for sure, then he becomes the quote better player over Randall.
Undeniably.
Yeah, undeniably, exactly. And then it's about how Randall responds to that. Now, is Thibs the right coach to navigate through those egos? Those
he couldn't navigate through Jimmy Butler and Cat. So
right.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think so either. I
mean, of course, that was a much more serious situation, when those details leaked out. But that's all we can really judge him on. We have to judge him by his resume, and he didn't, handle that situation well.
Yeah. Johnny Davis, just so you know, I
didn't even read the whole chat. I just read the first.
I know. That's all I read too. I was playing devil's advocate to try to make the case for why the front office would be willing to hold on to Thibs and bring him back. I wasn't saying, my actual feelings are very, very clear on this subject.
Yep. But you started with the disclaimer.
Yep.
You started with the disclaimer.
George, are you saying we should stay in this abusive relationship? If they can't get Julius in check, then hire Charles Oakley to coach the team. You know he ain't scared.
We're not saying it. Leon Rose is saying it.
Yeah, we're not saying it. Leon Rose is saying it. Yeah, we're not.
Also, George, not to take you off track, but how do you feel about Leon Rose being the one that made the final decision? Because we already know Worldwide West has a lot of pull, and he's already in that camp where he's saying we should move on from Thibs. Yep. So, you know, he got overruled by Leon Rose. And you remember when they bought the new agent, and I forgot his name. What's his name? Something with a G. They brought him in.
Gerson.
Gerson, there we go. They brought in Gerson. We were kind of confused as to who really wields the power in the front office.
Yeah.
Well, now it looks like Leon Rose is just proving it.
This was made before he came on board.
No, not Gerson. I'm saying Leon Rose. I'm saying Leon Rose is just proves, if anybody was wondering, who's the one making the final decisions. This article would confirm that Rose is the one making the final decision.
That is true. Especially here, this is a key part of the article. Knicks Governor James Dolan had granted the front office permission to either remove Thibodeau or retain him, sources said. But team president Leon Rose has no plans to make any change on the Knicks bench, sources said. Thibodeau maintains a frequent dialogue with Dolan following each game and often visits the governor's box. So there you go. So it was Leon who chose to hold on to Thibs. And in the end, a year from now, they both may be gone.
They'll both be gone.
They'll both be gone.
Oh, Jinx.
Yeah, they'll both be gone. Absolutely. But actually, you know what? I hope not. Here's the thing. And we're probably not going to get into the pregame part of it, unfortunately. But
yeah, I just looked at the time myself.
Yeah, Knicks look like we're going to win this game tonight. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. But we have a great chance of winning tonight. And the team has been playing better. I will say that. The team has been playing better. And a lot of that does coincide with RJ taking the lead more and Julius finally contributing. You know, so now we got the two of them. Like I said, since the All-Star break, they're both averaging 26 points a game. I believe they're the only two players, only two teammates that are averaging that much since the All-Star break. I'm not 100% on that, but I think they're definitely up there. But, oh shit, where were we? Before I diverge that, you brought something else.
We were talking about Leon Rose.
Oh, Leon.
Him being a decision maker.
Yes. Leon. Oh, this is where I was going to go to this. Look, I love this. Obviously, we all love this team, and I would rather be wrong than right, and the team does well next year with Thibs, with Leon, with Randall if he's still here or whatever, and if the team returns back to the winning ways that we had last season, which were fantastic, such a relief. Even that little 3-game win streak we just recently had was such. God, it was like an oasis in the middle of this desert of pain that we've been experiencing. So I don't want to be up here talking about what we should do, what we should, this and that. No, I want to talk about a team who's winning and why they're winning and maybe what else we can do to tweak it to get up to another higher level. I want this stuff to work. So they make these decisions. I want them to work out. I don't want to jinx them or anything like that at all. But I can only talk about what I see. And Tom Thibodeau, the way he has coached this season, does not instill me with confidence that we are going to return to being a winning franchise next season. That's my main reason for why I want to see him be removed as the coach.
And just to add to that, George, even if we were losing, and we were able to go game to game and try to chart the progress of some of the young guys, then at least something that's enjoyable, that's something that we can provide to the community and do something as a whole. But to have Thibs go out there and send players out that have already hit their ceilings, are not going to get better, at, whatever they're deficient in. And for us to come on here and just continually have to point out that these guys are not going, you're trying to put a square, peg into a round hole. It's just not going to work. And, Thibs, he's continuously been stubborn, and we're going to have to see what this front office does in the offseason, because at this point, I think they have to bring in a lot of talent and a lot of, I would assume, veteran talent, because Thibs isn't going to change, I don't believe, next season. So I don't think if this front office decides they want to gear towards development, that Thibs would be the right guy and that we'd be having the same conversation. So to me, I think it points towards this offseason being a transformative offseason where we might see a lot of crazy moves from this front office, because you mentioned it, next time it might not just be Thibs that we're talking about when it comes to job security. It could be him and the front office as well.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. Do you think that I mean, do you think RJ would have just continued developing the way he has, irregardless of the coach, or do you think Thibs is a key part of that?
I think I don't think Thibs is a major player, honestly. And I know I use that as a defense, but me personally, I don't think he's a major player, because we were screaming over and over again, let's run the offense more through RJ. I mean, he started to loosen up and allow RJ to have more control over the offense. But for the majority of the time, he's had RJ sit in a corner and be more so a catch and shoot threat out there, and then he attacks here and there when he can. But I think Thibs really can't get or shouldn't get a boatload of the credit. Of course, some credit, but I think regardless of the coach that we had, as long as we had a legit coach, I'm not going to sit here and act like Thibodeau isn't a credentialed coach. If we had another credentialed coach in here, I think RJ would have seen the same steps, because I still want to be respectful of Thibs. Like you said, you like Thibs. He has that resume, and we've seen him be a great coach throughout the league. I just don't think some of his tactics so far here with the New York Knicks have worked.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think RJ still would have developed the way he is, because he has that certain type of makeup within himself. And that's one of the reasons that I really believe that he was going to turn into what he ended up turning into. Because I watched him in high school, I watched him in college, so I could see, the mentality that he had, his approach to the game, his desire to be the best that he can be. That's not something Thibs instilled in him. And in some ways, Thibs interfered with it. I mean, by holding on to Peyton all last season, no floor spacing, few plays called for RJ. I think we may have missed out on half a year of RJ, development last season by just keeping him in the corner all that time. Yep. So I think RJ developed in spite of Thibs in a lot of ways. Now, there definitely are some positives. Thibs' desire for a hard work and rewarding hard work. That's what we hear.
Called him out once or twice.
Yeah. So in that respect, he did handle him well, but RJ would have turned into who he is anyway. So we can't give him credit for that. Can we give him credit for Randall last season?
No, I would give no fans credit.
Yeah.
I'm not giving. That was their first year together. I'm not giving him that much credit.
Yeah, me either.
No,
me either. So we're in an unholy.
I give Randall a lot of credit for because Randall does put in a lot of work in the offseason trying to better his game. I know some people said he didn't come in to the season
this year
in great shape, but last year he definitely came in, and that was before he had, I think, really met and got to know Thibs. So I'm gonna put that on Julius Randle putting the time in as opposed to Thibs putting him in a system. Even though we do have to mention Thibs does run the offense through Julius Randle, so that does help.
Yeah, that does help tremendously there. All right, let's do a quick little thing here before the game really starts. As you can see, the Knicks have been playing much better in the past 10 games. That includes just a few games right before the All-Star break. And the Blazers are just,
terrible.
They're terrible. They're a train wreck. They're a train wreck. And yet they do average more steals than us per game. The leading scorers is Anthony Simons for the Trailblazers. Leading rebounder is Nurkic. Leading assists is Simons. And Randall leads in all three categories here. He's finally over 20 points per game. He was under 20 for a long stretch. And he's under 10 rebounds per game. He actually has only averaged, I think, 7 rebounds or something since the All-Star break, which is low for him. Something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but he's still up there with the assists, which is nice to see. Trailblazers are 1-4 in the last 5 games. We are 3-2. And as we all know, those losses against Memphis and Brooklyn were tight. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
They were both, contested. It combined less than 7 points.
Yeah.
Or 7 points. That's brutal.
Yeah, man. We were just coming off of spanking teams too. 116 to 93, 131 to 115, 107 to 77. So we're definitely trending in the right direction. You look at the teams we lost, Memphis and Brooklyn. Well, Brooklyn not so more by record, but more so talent.
And Trailblazers they're missing Bledsoe, which is a shame. I always like kind of see him out there. Winslow as well, and the Knicks still missing Derrick Rose. No new news on Rose right now. Grimes is scheduled to return on Friday. That's what the rumors are. And Nerlens, I think Nerlens is just going to sit out the rest of the year. Unless we go on another little 3-game, 4-game win streak and start getting in closer to the play-in thing, maybe they dust Nerlens off, and get him back showcase
out. Him?
Yeah, maybe.
Because a whole bunch of scouts.
Yeah, we'll see. But D Rose, I think we may not play the rest of the year unless we do another little mini win streak. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, if Nerlens isn't going to come back, I wouldn't rush Rose back either. Just let him come back healthy next season. Even if we're going to move on from him in the offseason. I know some people have mentioned that could be a possibility. I wouldn't want him to come back in. And we know what Derrick Rose can do when healthy. So as long as the medical records say he's fine, I think other teams would be open to a potential deal.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is Rose's deal is the 2+1 as well with the option for the last?
Rose is a 2+ or is it 3+1?
No, we didn't get Rose 4 years. We gave Fournier 4 years.
Rose is a 2+1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so he would be in the expiring deal in this offseason.
Yeah.
So if we do decide to move on from him, as long as the medical records check out, a team may be willing to bite.
Oh yeah, yeah. He would be perfect for a team who, is right there contending, but needs like an excellent point guard to make some good decisions for them. He'd be perfect for that.
The Rose Hive has been saying that since last season.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Rose Hive wanted him out of the Knicks. They wanted him to go somewhere else. Yeah, totally. All right, just want to repeat that we have a new sponsor. It's BUSR. It's a sports book. And you go to busr.com/MM32. And you can take part in their new promotion, which is bet $1 to win $10,000 plus a 100% signing bonus. And you get 25 casino chips with every deposit. So one lucky winner will be randomly chosen and credited with $10,000. The registration is already open for this promotion. And it will be announced on March 26th, the day of the Elite 8. So you won't have to wait that long to hear if you've won. The promotion also has a 100% sign-up bonus, like I said. Also, it's easy. You just sign up or you log in if you already have an account, just make a deposit and just place a $1 bet or more on any game, and you are entered to participate. So check that out, busr.com/MM32. All righty. Thank you guys. Thank the chat for showing up here. You guys were fantastic. Great comments throughout it. I was reading almost all of them as we were talking. Sometimes, major multitasking, listening to Quis, reading the chat, looking at the Twitter, it's all happening right now. I don't even know. Did the game even start?
I don't know. I'm tuned in. I'm focused.
Yeah. We're up to nothing.
Yeah. Trending in the right direction. What was the last time we were leaving a pregame?
Yeah.
And then we were down 10-2 already?
Yeah, 12-2. 10-2 or 12-2. Yeah, it was bad news back then. Yeah, man. All right.
We got the starting fives. I don't know if you want to shout out. We surveyed 100 people.
Oh, yeah. Let's get those starting fives up. If you want to shout anybody else out?
Yeah. Canal, thank you guys for tuning in. Also, Lex, the Destroyer, appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lex.
Some of the people that come in and try to ruin the stream, but you were holding it down. I appreciate you being a mind for our guy, George, and helping him out. Thank you, man.
Very much appreciate that so much. And we surveyed 100 people. Thank you as well for always with the lineup updates. Prezi the Boss, Canal Ben Loya, thank you for showing up. Let's see who else did we miss. Rodney Odlum, Best of Worst, Mano Fami.
Cast a shower paid. He says we must re-sign Mitch.
I'm in favor of it. We'll have another show again talking about that.
We'll see if it actually happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Kept Giggles, thank you for showing up too, man. It's awesome. And the Knicks are up 3-0. So that is very good news. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Let's go to our sign off. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching this. Again, my name is George. Please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and drop your comments. And Quis, don't forget to subscribe to Sports Vibes TV if you haven't already. And we alternate pregame shows. So the next one will be on Sports Vibes TV.
Yep.
Along with, check out our new sponsor, which is busr.com. They're having a promotion right now, so check that out. All the details are in the description below. All right, thank you guys for showing up, and we will see you around the Knicks-Verse.